was the Desert Fox, signing off. Before the video starts, I'd like to say, please, share, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, but for all you keyboard commandos, I'd say, get out of your mother's basement and get a job, and let's start the video. So, I'd like to talk about a very, very strange, awful character in today's history. This character would be a fellow named Grigory Rasputin. At least I think I'm pronouncing that right. So, Grigory was his real first name. Rasputin was his not real name. See, he earned that name after choosing it much later in his life. He started off in a small village. Somewhere near, well, up in the more Antarctic region. He was a relatively normal person until he reached the age 14. And from what we know, there was a small raid on the village by thieves and bandits. And he went through a religious cleansing by the priest after almost everyone was dead in the village the next day. So this, what psychologists believe, took a toll on Rasputin's mind. So this would later affect his whole life. We skip to about 10 years ahead, and Rasputin is 21. He decides to have a wife, family, and settle down. Things are looking good for Rasputin. He has a small house. He has a family and 3 children. That is not extravagant enough for him. Rasputin decides, well, he'll go to Egypt, Jerusalem, and many other Middle Eastern cities, and he'll go to other Slavic cities. So, and he does this all on the budget of his dear wife, without him there, working almost 4 jobs of 3 children alone in the middle of Siberia while he is out partying. So you can see already Rasputin is a scumbag. Then we move on to the more important parts of his life. We go now to when he went to the capital of Russia at the time. Not Moscow. It was the capital of Russia at that time. Back in I believe it was 11? And he met the czars. You see, about a year after the czar's first boy, that is, well, contracts a rare disease where you're scarring up and down your body no matter what. So, this disease afflicts the child for quite a long time until his death. However, the czaress, which is the czar's wife, has hope still, so she calls on the priest Rasputin to bless the child. She thought Rasputin was a holy healer. Turns out, well, he was not. Though he made the child better for a small while, it did not help. This would lead later to his assassination. So, we have that. Then they stuck him around for a little while because they thought he could save the child. Now, of course, this not happened. However, he did something much more devious. See, Rasputin, how he lived really is going town from town in a sex/murder cult. Going from town to town, taking innocent people and turning them into monsters, usually gullible, innocent people. So we can see these gullible, innocent people get taken advantage of, and then eventually killed, murdered, and what Rasputin loved to do, cannibalized. So, this was part of his cult. His cult's ideology was before you can be accepted to God, you have to sin as much as possible. Now, obviously, that doesn't make sense in the slightest, but that's what he did. So his followers would give him donations and such other stuff. That's so he could keep going on these extravagant trips. Now, he would hold giant orgies in the Tsar's bedroom. Yes, and the Tsar was too much of a pansy to do anything about it. So we skip a couple years ahead, and next thing we know, the Tsar's daughter is getting molested by Rasputin. Now here's where the scary part comes in, where a lot of the folk tales come in. These stories were that Rasputin was almost half demon, because what she did is she took a knife, slit open Rasputin's guts, and they fell on the floor. She ran down the hall saying, "I killed the devil." However, the next morning, he was up and walking with his guts back in him, feeling just fine, and not being angry at all. So we can see that that's very unusual. However, Rasputin was a 400-pound, 6-foot man, so we can explain a little bit of that to just his biology. So next thing you know, Rasputin was just too much for anyone to handle, and when World War I broke out, most likely due to Rasputin's fault, because we all know that World War I would be a small regional conflict if Russia didn't want to show off its might. This was mostly due to Rasputin making 90% of the decisions for Russia. So, the Tsar then had to take control of the front lines in 1916, leaving Rasputin to whatever he wanted to do. Next thing you know, there was great famines and murders and sprees. I'll have another episode on Lenin and soon explaining more of that. However, Russia was in total destruction. Otherwise, Rasputin would order 200. I think it was something crazy like almost 100,000 people executed for protesting, which is quite insane when you think about it. Just right there, shot on the spot by the police. So, and the Tsar had no idea about this because he was out leading the troops. So, really, Rasputin had all the control. So, well, free men decided, I forget their names currently. Please forgive me, I'll leave a comment with their names. So, these free men, well, they decided they had enough of Rasputin, so they sent him a letter. This letter said, "Would you like to come with a party?" Now, knowing Rasputin, he had to come. And he came. The plan was poison him, he'll die, it'll be quick, and then throw him down the river. This did not happen. This was probably one of the most gruesome scenes in all of Russian history. So, what happened was, well, they gave him 7 cups of poison, filled with cyanide. Rasputin drank them all. Besides getting him a little drunk, it was just fine. Now this time they start freaking out. Because if you have a person drink 7 cups of complete, almost no wine, just poison, well, it'll probably freak you out a little bit for them to still be walking, breathing, and being just fine. So, they decided to go get a revolver. They shot him 5 times in the chest and 1 in the head. This, they thought, would do it for good. They went to go get a hatchet and start sawing him up. And when they came back, he tackled them. Then he ran again. Then the guards outside shot him twice with a Mosin-Nagant. Now, the particular caliber of a Mosin-Nagant is a 7.62 by 51, which is a very large round for you to get shot twice by, then stabbed at the end of the bayonet with it. Rasputin kept getting up, but then fell over, so they beat his head in with a dumbbell. They set him on fire and threw him down the river. Then the next early hours in the morning, Rasputin broke out of the metal net they had him in, walked 10 miles up the shore, and then died. After all that, So you can see Rasputin was, well, an extraordinary man to be able to survive all that. Otherwise, he was almost demon because he led many occults and murders and quite other nasty things. And that would be the story of Rasputin. Please, we have an episode later dedicated to Vladimir Lenin. That will explain a little bit of everything Rasputin did as far as publicly. And this will be the Desert Fox, signing off.